probably 6 to 7 months, we've been discussing how to operate some of our facilities. One of the discussions was that Anthony only has $100,000 a year to patch all the repairs that we need to do during the year in our 7 buildings. That it sounds like a lot of money, but really, given the size of our buildings, it's not a lot of money. So in facilities committee, we started discussing what else can we do. And I mentioned the repair reserve. And I'm going to give you a look at the repair reserve, and maybe after I finish, we can discuss what does the board want to do regarding the repair reserve. So let's start with what is the repair reserve. The repair reserve is only for repairs. We cannot use it to buy equipment. We cannot use it for regular maintenance services. So, for example, if I need to maintain the boiler and it costs me $10,000 a year to tune it up, that's not that I cannot use my repair reserve for that. In order to increase or decrease the reserve, we don't need community voting. It can be approved by the Board of Education. The only thing we need to do is to do a hearing for the community on how we're planning to spend the money. Usually we do it prior to a Board of Education, and there's some scheduling that we have to do. We have to put it in the papers. We need to leave a couple of weeks for people to be able to come to the hearing if they want to hear about the reserve and how we're planning to use the funds. A little bit of history about our own repair reserve. It was opened in the late 1980s. There was not a lot of money until the 17-18 school year, when we had a very good year and we decided to put $2.2 million into the reserve. And the last withdrawal that we did from the reserve was the same year, where we spent $295,000 for paving district-wide. The balance today is $1,954,000. If you do the math, obviously the difference between those two numbers is interest income. So the math is correct. So after several discussions with the facilities committee, we asked Anthony to give us a proposed repair reserve projects for this summer for around $100,000. And Anthony came with the following projects: work on the roof facade work in the middle school, in BV, repave the walkway to Westchester Avenue, and some front sidewalk repair. In Franchilinci, do some window panel repair. That would be $100,000, actually $102,000. But the discussion is, should we use more? If the Board of Education decides to use more of the repair reserve funds, we would do paving and catch basin repairs in the high school, brick repointing in front of the building, roof repairs, and in the middle school, sidewalk and catch basin repairs and boiler repairs. And finally, in Franchilinci, we do caulk and seal backlog, and in the bus garage, we do also some of the pavings. So that's basically the repair reserve. That was the discussion that we had yesterday with the facilities committee. You need to two decisions. Maybe the first decision is if you are interested in using the repair reserve, so we can do some of the work this summer. And if it's yes, then the next decision that you have to make is the amount of money that you want to spend. The interesting thing is that if you make a decision today, tomorrow we can contact the newspaper, we can start the process, or probably if we have time in our next Board of Education meeting in 2 weeks, we can approve it, and we can start working on the projects as soon as the following day. Yes?
Here's a quick question. In the list of all the things to do, the one thing I didn't see was the high school parking lot. Every morning I'm dodging potholes. I don't know if anybody else has the same experience.
To tell you the truth, I didn't go and look around with Anthony. This was Anthony's list. I'll discuss it with him.
Well, if we could, I think we've heard a lot from the community on repairs needed to the different schools. I think it would be great to get some of that feedback and then maybe do a priority list, right? And then do a risk assessment and a priority list of all the feedback we get, because people are going to ask for things that, yeah, it would be nice to fix, but it's not a high priority for us, right?
Sure.
But I'm sure there are things that maybe Anthony's not thinking of that parents who go to the schools every day, me for one, right, going to the high school every day, there are things that I see that maybe he doesn't catch.
No, I totally agree with you. The reason why we decided on these projects is because everything started probably in March when Jennifer said, I would like to put more money into the budget for repairs. And we were basically done with the budget, but I mentioned about the repair reserve. And then we asked Anthony to do all the priorities. We came up with the idea, okay, let's do $100,000. The problem of getting a lot more, of going to the community, is that will take time, and this is for this summer that we're basically on. Again, if the board decides, well, we can spend $300,000, so obviously maybe we can do it, in a long weekend.
Yeah.
So in that sense, it's not a problem. But what if it's roof repair that will take 6 months or 2 months? We can only do it during the summer. So the idea was, let's see if the board is interested in doing the first $100,000. That was the idea. And based on that, then maybe the board wants to do more. And then maybe we already are at the point where we are going to hire in the next month our architects that will do the audit. And then I would prefer to wait another 3 to 4 months to see what the architects tell us is in big need for repair, and then come back to the board and say the architects believe that we need another $500,000 in repairs, and that might be part of that.
Yeah, I think there will be
But
two
I
things,
agree with you.
right? There are going to be things that the parents see every day, and then there are going to be things that the architects notice that parents might not notice unless you're, right? So my one question, one follow-up question is, when we put out the notice, do we have to have all the projects already defined when we approve this?
Yes.
Or are we approving a
Unfortunately,
dollar
yes.
value and then we can allocate it as we need to?
We can be broad in saying paving, just to say in say paving, and then we decide if it's more important the paving in the high school than the paving in BV. But it's like a capital project. You cannot just say, approve $100,000 worth of education and let me decide where I want. They have to be specific projects that can be brought, but definitely it has to be set.
No, thank you. I mean, I would like to just make sure that we involve the parents and you know, other people in the district going forward.
No question about it, I agree. But
Could I add?
I think this is just $100,000 and it's like not a lot of money that we need, and it's Anthony's job to tell us what is it we're working it is that the biggest problems are.
And if I could add, you know, the facilities committee, when we met, Enrique's 100% right, but there's, you know, a few more things that might help clarify. One, we're trying to decide projects for the summer. So if we go beyond this amount right now, or these projects, it not necessarily manageable for the summer. With that said, when these projects are done over the summer, there's nothing to say that in September, October, this can't be done again and draw down on the reserve fund. And a third item, which Enrique had brought up in very good point during the facilities committee, is some things you don't want to use the reserve fund for, because we're going to get, if we do it as part of the building conditions survey, we'll get state aid on that. Whereas this, we're not getting state aid on. So you want to be careful what you use this for compared to the building condition survey work that will be in effect less costly to the community. We still get things done, you just got to juggle it to make sure it's done most effectively. And thank you, Enrique, for bringing those things up during, you and Anthony for bringing those things up during facilities committee. Thank you.
Yeah, I also think that this list did come from many meetings of feedback from the community. So it was Anthony's, but it was feedback that was provided over time from the community, whether it be teachers or staff or parents. So, and I think we also said we wanted to be specific on what we were going to spend the money on, so that people could see at the end of the summer what we had completed, to have confidence that we could then go forward and do something else. If we could see the success and say, okay, it was worthwhile, we can go forward and do something else.
So I think this is great, and I think this is great, and for me as a new trustee, it's awesome to learn about such a unique reserve fund. For me, in my decision making, I think that I will need to know how we plan to replenish. Is that something that you do if we underspend the budget and we have leftover money next year? Determining whether we should spend $100,000 or $200,000. For me, I just need to know, that's great, let's get everything repaired, but how do we plan to replenish so that that funding is always there?
Before the $2.2 million, there was very little money. We decided that we needed the money in case a major repair was needed. But at the same time, we were hit with Indian Point. So now all our efforts are towards reducing the tax rate. So any extra money that we get, that we can save, goes really to decrease the tax rate. So at this point, we don't have any plan just because we don't have the money. I'm always going to be very careful not to go below a certain amount, just in case there's a hurricane and we need to, when something happens and we need $500,000, just to say a number, to have there to prepare anything because of an accident or natural problem. So in that sense, we are being very careful on how we use the money, and that's why we use very little. We want to be sure that this is a saving account. This is not, let's use a repair instead of the budget.
Yep, that makes sense.
So,
Steve.
oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. So just to clarify a point, this is above and beyond our regular facilities budget. So some of the things that Corey, you were talking about may very well be included already in Anthony's facilities budget. I don't know if the facilities team talked about that at all, because I don't know if the pothole issue was specifically brought up, but this is above and beyond.
Yeah, I know, it was just an example that I was bringing up, it wasn't, right? So, Enrique, the big question I have then, so in the event of a disaster, I assume we have insurance, right?
Oh, of course.
Right, so what we'd have to do is cover a deductible. But then, you know, in just my little sidebar with Joe, there's also a timeliness issue too, right? In that if something needs to be repaired right away, we might not be able to wait for the adjuster to issue money.
Let me answer in two parts. Part number one is the issue of when the money will come is usually not an issue because we have, I'd say, an average balance of $10 million a day in the bank. So it happens. I just need to be sure that we have enough money for next month to pay salaries, and salaries are $4 million a month. Okay, I have $6 million that I can use right away to repair it until we get the money from the insurance. So in that sense, and I have this money, but I won't use it as a repair reserve. I'll just borrow from here until I get insurance money. So that really, we would have to be talking about $20-30 million that then we're talking probably something really bad happened here. So that's number one. And number two is anything that goes into the out of the repair reserve, again, it has to be something that the board decides to do it, and it has to be planned. You know? But yes, it can be, for example, a thunderstorm, that it's an act of God that the insurance doesn't pay. So we need to have that $500,000. It already happened 2 years ago. I don't know if you remember that there was a thunderstorm that hit the high school and blew a couple of our servers. We had to spend $20,000 that was not covered by insurance. So when I say repair reserve for emergencies, that's what I mean. I would never recommend the board to go below, let's say, $500,000, just in case. You never know.
Thank you.
Alexis, was your question answered?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. I was just going to add that it's just like with home ownership, a lot of these projects aren't very glamorous, but whether it's boiler repairs or repaving lots, by paying, it seems like a lot of money for something that's not very flashy, but those things that the boiler's not repaired now, it could be a more expensive repair down the road. So I see this as almost a good use of our reserves. I would move forward with my support of this.
If I could just jump into that point, our last building condition survey was around 2016. It identified $55 million of work, and we collectively lost our minds. It's $55 million. It's crazy. And when you go through the recommendations, they are things that people will never ever see, whether they're server closets or rewiring HVAC, so on and so forth. And so there's always that tug of war between what we what we will see optically versus what is really a good investment from a technical standpoint. Speaking of the servers, we didn't open school on time at the high school because the HVAC unit was basically HVAC technology piece from the original part of the building is in need of we've learned is in need of upgrade. So that's a significant investment that not a lot of people will see, but we'll all experience. And you're right. It's always trying to find the balance between what will sell and trying to get a bond approved versus what will be functional and be more operational.
All right, so what I'm hearing is that the Facilities Committee is recommending that we approve a $100,000 use of the repair reserve, or maybe $106,000 if we do the middle school boiler repairs. And I think we need is that correct?
I think we agreed to the 100.
100.
Yes, we said the boiler repairs would be, we had talked with Anthony, they would be to replace tubes that are plugged and they're not there's enough capacity
You're not
within the,
critical?
yeah.
Okay. So the recommendation is for $100,000? So we would need 102. Okay, so we would need someone to make a motion.
I'm
Yes?
sorry, Clara.
No.
No, today the only thing that you have to do is instruct us to start the process.
Oh, okay.
Yes, because there's a process that might take 2, 3, or 4 weeks. I don't know the timing exactly. But then we do the hearing, and after the hearing, then we bring the proposition to the board to vote in the actual proposition. But
I was going to make a motion that we move forward with this.
perfect.
Not that we approve the amount tonight.
Exactly.
So can I have a motion that we're going to move forward with this process? Have a second? All in favor? Unanimous. Okay, let's move
Thank
forward
you.
with this. Thank you.